你在见过的三界行动，我也做跟南大仙拉去吧。一当古如南大门的，你呀大呀米少呀。呀，他就为嘛学这么点些生的，马日巴些的，看得起来是个人生的，看说的，就当忙着了，马下把钱，他日本一些就干到没得出说话，什么日本的太困难了，日本干怎么当，太来先把咱们骂的意思，日本干到没得出说就把看上了，吃了没别人个菜你就把我怎么是。在前年，他就能习主席话，现在那么的了，说完的了，康熙大东台了呢，俺些大都怎么就是晒的，他们俺吃碰不吃，俺碰不接受，俺吃的干了，俺的，可能让我给出吧，说看了嘛对吧，让我给出吧，俺自己干了碰不了嘛对吧，让我么，出吧的了。让我准备怎么的了？俺这个几大这个了，康熙大东的了呢，俺些大都怎么就是钱？现在为他谈了单呢，俺这个就谈了单呢，俺又要准备几大节，你打给我，两百给打给我准备几大节，谈了单呢，打给电话了，七八节吧的，俺让做他，我送个出去啊的。
So, as we said previous session, we got up to this point in the text where it's talking about ignorance. And the text here, as we already said, it reads that ignorance is not simply a lack of knowledge or a absence of knowledge of reality, or it's not merely something other than knowledge of reality, but rather it's a the opposite or contrary of that kind of knowledge. It's which is by seeing the person or some other phenomenon holds those to be established by means of their own intrinsic identity. So the way this is working then, as mentioned earlier, is that when we perceive our aggregates, we see something to do with the aggregates that make up us as persons, we think I. And we hold on to that I as if it was autonomous, able to exist on its own. And that clinging to the I as if it was autonomous, standing alone, is itself the type of ignorance. The type of view of the perishable aggregates, which is pertaining to the person. So, and then if we go further than that and say that after thinking, I exist in this way, we think that something that belongs to the I, something that is of the I, such as the aggregates of the I or some possessions of the I or something like that, that those things are existing in this autonomous way, then that's the kind of wrong view of the perishable aggregates with respect to other sorts of phenomena. And if once you have these kinds of wrong views, misconceptions of the I or that which belongs to the I, then one automatically comes to desire that which is pleasurable for the I, and the opposite, and dislike things that are not.
다라 대화 주바티 안보 타다와 왕소 세가나 미가 안보라 소와키 안보당 아니 가소래 안보라 때문에 쉐와 미실라 아니 치료지 세고라 맞대봐 세당 거라서 치료기 여자라 맞대봐 아니 나라 대와 나기 대와 좀 믿어봐 인장 왕소 타다 와당 치료지 세고라 세비 세바게 되라 라 세고라 세바게
Then the way in which attachment, desire, and attachment arise is that we realize that that we can't have happiness, pleasure, without depending upon our current sense organs, without the external sorts of things like food and clothing. All of these things, the organs of for example, the eye, the visual organ, and then the sense perceptual fields that enable us to experience things. All of these things are necessary for the happiness of the I or of ourselves. So we develop a desire and attachment towards those objects.
어제 근데 다 나기 대원 주비치도 아니 고슴지 량원바도 체. 그와 이길래 아니 나길래 류길래 나기 대원 주비치고 고슴지 량원바도 체.
So then in order to achieve our own happiness and pleasure, we create different kinds of actions. We create actions. We engage in mental activity, in verbal activity, physical activity, activity of the body, all of those things in order to accomplish our own desires, our happiness.
아니 고슴지 량원반 도식 또 제디가나 내배 된 줍디 잠바 아니 세바 내자게 고슴길래 내배 된 마주바당 미디비 된 줍디 잠바 아니 세단게 기파라 말이 받게 가나 아니 사다 모습이 치거든.
So then when we do achieve our desires, some sort of happiness or pleasure for ourselves, then as soon as we've accomplished that, we have attachment and desire, desire and attachment towards that happiness and pleasure. And the opposite is the case as well, that when we're unable to accomplish that which we desire, or we do something that creates unhappiness for us, then we give rise to anger and hatred and such. And then with intermediate kinds of actions that don't perform either of those, we have sort of ignorant sort of attitude towards them, ignorant perception of them.
다 될라때네 아니 차다 모습 되게 왕기 아니 레 소남다 소남 마인바 고슴 그 량은 봐 예절가나 태양다바 된지비 가사키 양생 원반 두 제비 두제다 소남다 소남 마인바 묘 실가나 아니 고슴지 레 두체니 말이 비꾸나란데 소남 개외래 사소가 소남 개외래 사주삼바 아니 가소리 대배 된로 펼치게 내사에 말이 비꾸나란데 소남 마인빌래 사주삼바 아니 가소리 지와 펼치게 내사에 말이 비꾸나란데 묘위래 사주삼바 아니 감코마리 지와 펼치게 내수 사교하리
No. Tangbudi marikpe
marikkunalande sonam gilesana
sonam gilesana
sonam gilesa dama ani sonam dengam kevele sonam gilesa debi dendro cha penchile.
So therefore someone who's obscured with respect to the meaning of reality creates actions in order to create further rebirth. So what that's referring to, the creation of actions that that induce further existence or rebirth. Is saying that if a person is under the control of ignorance, and they create virtuous sorts of actions, karma, then they're reborn in higher states of existence, such as humans and divinities and so forth, into those states of existence. If someone is born into, creates motivated or sort of impelled by ignorance, creates an action which is non-virtuous, those kinds of actions generate rebirth into the lower states of existence, such as being an animal or a hungry ghost or hell being, those kinds of existence. And then So then, similarly, if one is under the control of, motivated through this ignorance, and creates a special kind of karma that is unvariable in the sense that it induces one to be reborn into the higher states of existence, the states of mental absorption. So therefore, someone who is obscured with respect to the way things are, to the actual way in which things are, has that kind of ignorance, is necessarily going to create actions, karma, which will cause them to be reborn into one of the realms of samsaric existence. Whereas those who see reality as it is, see the way things actually are is not under that control by that kind of ignorance, and therefore will not be born into the realms, the different states of samsara.
Debagi 사람 미리 껴 펼치기 내다라 아니 손놈 개발 내스거리 내 손이 껴 펼치기 내다라 손은 많이 빌레스거리 그봐 다 감ความ수당 수매도 껴 펼치기 내다라 묘와스거리 묘위래 내 대기 묘세가라 내디 감ความ을 껴 펼치기 내다라 깨나 let me over come command jar pembermando give a send to Lenabula. It's a mule in that did.
So the three types of karma then, or actions, are virtuous actions. Virtuous karma is meritorious action, is that which impels one to be born into the higher states of existence. It projects you or impels you to be reborn into the better states of existence. And then non-virtuous or non-virtuous types of action, non-meritorious actions, impel one to be born into the lower states of existence. And then the third type of karma or action is called unwavering or invariable, because it's a particular kind of action that is only impels one to be reborn strictly into the two higher realms of existence, the form and formless realms, or the non-physical and realms of existence.
일단 레디 그 균형 써야 되라 마리바기 균형 치기 써야 돼 마리바텔라 간데스고 그 니와 뒤제 걸려야 되라 마리바 코로나 인다나야 레주 균형 니와 뒤제 걸려야 돼 그 균형 마리바치고 그래 뒤제 대 니와 두제가 내다라 란다 댄데 차지도 토위 아니 가서 니 마리바 탈라 때나 사바치체 마리바 고양 란다 댄데 차지도 토위 편적이 내주 군론도 주의 마리바 하고서 란다 댄데 차지도 또 봤어 댄데 차지하고도 와 미리 깨와 편적이 내 대기 군론 댄데 차지 보거스나 미리 깨와 편적이 내주 군론도 주의 내대 그 군론들라 란다 댄데 차지 미 깨와 편적이 내라 때네 다미 깨와 주의가 연락이 와와 댄데 차지 순이지 와와 어때 telate tende tsachik sikware ena mari batela randa tende dujek niwa dujek leji kuno de chu mari batela ta kandeji gogoare sana jidang yu kuno de chu mari batela ta tende gogoare kansore kansa ka tante chu mari bachi kansa tante mari ba 그래서 jidang kuno de la yu kuno da tuju kuno si yore
기 kunondang
뒤죽구나.
뒤기큰.
너.
이거 맞아.
그래서 제가 뒤죽구나서나 말이 붙고나는데 말이 바티고 꾸나는데 아니 레디 두쳐봐야 뒤죽구나세. 뒤죽구나세가 될 레대당 아니 충대도 동아지당 레대당 충대 마이미당 레디 내가부터 아니 되냐도 주바기 아니 그놈이라 뒤죽구노스 거래 하고서
노스
와 뒤죽구노스 레터다 손대샤해 봐
레터다 손대노스 노스
손대샤지당 레드 온도 주위 내가 그 아니 그놈이라 아니 뒤죽구노스 하죠
뒤죽구노스 노스. So this when you differentiate, when you take ignorance and you understand it as a kind of motivational factor, which gives rise to karma, one differentiates between the ignorance which is functioning to give rise to the action at the particular time of when it's creating the cause, when it's producing the karma of that's determining the specific type of rebirth that one's going to be born into. For example, rebirth as a human being. The karma that is functioning, the ignorance which is functioning at that particular time to give rise to that particular karmic mental formation of karma, which will determine that one is born into the rebirth as a human being. And then there's also the ignorance which is functioning as the motivating sort of factor to propel one's actual rebirth, at the time of rebirth as a human being. Those ignorance is distinguished as operating in those two separate occasions. The one being when it's creating the cause, and the other when it's sort of the cause is being actualized into that type of rebirth.
말이 붙구나 라는데 단이와 두식이래 용하길래 가서래 소남질래 이나래 소남 많이 빌래 이나래 미워래 이나야 레데 사체 다 레데 아니 니와 두식이래 대체 대기 대대 베제들 드리스도가 가르세 대양다반테 집이 간사키스 내루지테 양다바 통통은 집이 간사티기 마리비 집이 간사티기 다 양승원반 두체비에서 양식세가나 개와 양승원반 두체비 두체 세야데 레드체 두체데라 감고만 데비데로 개와 패제게 소남 나소의 개와 패제게 소남 마인바당 묘와 세가나 강화마리 기와 패적이 묘 류당 레데라 류당 아당 이기 레나바 숨보 엄바 두체바데 개발체도 와 류질래 세가 류질래 ngāgilē, yīgilē sūmu yuārī. Rwa, tā lūjilē sēdi, lē sēdāng, lē jilamdāng, lūjilē, kānsē ngāgilē nīla, lē jilamdāng, lē nīla, chabā yuāchē.
So the text here, thus far we've mentioned or discussed ignorance, which serves as sort of the motivating factor to give rise to the creation of activity or creation of mental formations, which here is karma, the actions, and these different types of mental formations that can be or karma can be virtuous, non-virtuous, and unwavering in their result. As we mentioned already, that having to do with whether one's born into the upper realms of human and the lower sorts of divinities, or as in the lower realms according to non-virtuous actions, or into the form and formless realms by means of actions that are unvariable in their result. And the text here says that a person who is obscured with respect to the meaning of reality creates or constructs, creates the mental formations that actualize their further existence of the three types. And then the karma is then enumerated as having three types. There are three types of karma: bodily or physical karma, verbal and mental karma. These karma has three sorts depending on whether it's verbal, physical, or mental. And then one has to also distinguish between karma or action as such and what is called the path of action, or the path of action. These two have to be distinguished.
대인자 semba yigilē yinu teji lūdāng ngāgilē tā chawa kāndāng kāyinā yāng dīdāng dī chāo yāng bāk semba dī āni yigilē chē semba dī yīgūnā lāng dī āni lūngā kī chawa bēnā 소주비 미기위 내지이나 아니 소주비 내가기 아니 가소래 차와테다 되냠도 주비 아니 가소래 레금오라 시와 인가 등가이나 아니 테다 되냠도 주비 아니 sem바직체 레기오 수전도 등가지이나 아니 뒤 내가기 류당하기 그렇지 류지리점 ngāgirīchī. Tā lēgī ngō sūkchēn tōngkēndi chirā māwā tāng tāñchū bāki lēgī ngō sūkchēn tēku wārī. Sūkchēn. Sūyīmbā tēku wārī.
Chirā tū māwā.
Chirā māwā tāng tāñchū bā nīkī. Rāwā kāntā rēsā sāmbā tēku kūnā lāngdī āni sōchī bī nēgā kī lūngā kī rīchī. Rīchī ākō wē. Rāwā.
So the when we're speaking about these three types of karma, the physical, verbal, and mental karma or actions, we have to distinguish them into themselves into two sorts, because for example, here mental action, mental karma, is understood as is sort of intentionality, or a sort of a kind of intention to do something. It's sort of like forming the decision, making the decision, and forming the intention to perform some kind of action. And then together with that intentionality, which is a mental thing purely, we engage in physical and sometimes physical and verbal actions, or just physical actions. And the physical and verbal part of it, which is sort of demonstrable or seen by other people, which is, whereas the intentionality isn't directly seen or expressed, It's only the physical and verbal part of action that is perceptible by other people. Those things are considered to be physical by both the Vaibhashika school, that school of Buddhist philosophy, as well as by the consequentialist Madhyamika school. They hold that verbal and physical actions are themselves physical, not mental in nature.
인자 류지르게 세대 체라마와이나 다디네가브기 미케벨레다 주베다 미케벨레가지 아니 류지르게데 미케벨르체체 대백군나한테 류지 아니 입대 아니 양 개방 오르지리지 개방 오르지 군조라 대발라 소바기 대백군나한 내가지 류지르체 개와 주빈내가라와 어때 류지르체데 개와체 세당국군나한테 류지르체데 미케벨레체 어때 됐을 말이야
Die Lüge Yip ja Rikche
그렇지
Ruah. So here, what the Vaibhashika school says is that if you have some sort of mental intention of doing something non-virtuous, like harming some other person, then the physical action with your body that you perform and the actual sort of like shape of your body, as well as sort of whatever is perceivable by other people, that is itself non-virtuous in nature, is non-meritorious in its character. And the opposite is true too. When you have some sort of virtuous, meritorious intention, which is a mental thing, the action of your body, the shape of it, and the entire sort of that which is perceivable by others is of a meritorious or virtuous kind of character.
대두가 내남 텐다와기 내남바 숨보디 엄바 두쳐바쳐도 용하게 내남바 숨보디 엄바 두쳐봐 대 양스 양 대리 양 양스바디 저와 침이 풍부 뒤에 취도 누체대 강사되기 배나 미게 외야지 누체는 나선데 저와 평교 아래데 패마 제거와데 강사 코란디게 나선데 기회 파도 기회 취도 내정 엄바 두쳐고 말했어 와 두쳐고 말했어 가서 누체바 망회장 강사 코란 그 망회장 텐더윙 나선기 저와 편제게 레디 대부 때 레디게 대부 티텐도 슈바레스 레디 대부데 나송기 저와 짐바 쳐봐 연장 레디 대부 티텐도 슈바오 this 말에.
So there it says that there are three types of action, which are mental, verbal, physical, physical or bodily, verbal, and mental. Those one creates those types of three actions, sort of motivated by or impelled by ignorance, and these are created or generated. And this action also gives rise to okay. That action is created in order to give rise to further existence. That is a subsequent rebirth, a subsequent arising of the aggregates of that person. So even though that person has not thought or has not does not have as their objective the achievement of the obtaining of that kind of rebirth, it's not determined whether it's not certain that the person has that kind of intention or objective to be reborn in that state. but the karma will act to give rise to that kind of result, that sort of rebirth.
오야 인자 머리 리바 양세지 두제 넘버 숨보다 엄바 두체 세다 디바레 두제 넘버 숨보다 엄바 두체 세 자와티기 된다테
So that's an explanation of the lines of the first verse, which say that the three types of mental formations are created in order to
두제 넘버 숨보데 가르레서나 융하기 레스보테
So yeah, those that for the sake of rebirth or for further existence, a person who's obscured by ignorance creates those different kinds of mental formations.
근데 레디기 남미지 대부대 아니 딱 레가래 이나래 개미게 레 간이 이나래 남미지 대부대 체딜라뇨나 짐발잖아 통전연줄리래 남미지 대부대 깨와 치마를 짐바지나 깨와 제내연주 아니 남미지 대부대 깨와 치마 펜제도 영화잖아 짐발치디 삼바 렌다샤라 연줄래 렌다샤라 연주지래 어디라
So all of these actions, karma, which is these mental formations referred to here, give rise to different sorts of results. So if one performs an action in order to, and it gives rise to a result in the present life. For example, some special act of charity or something can give rise to a action in the present life. Then that's the action. The result of that action is designated as a action which has as its result a effect that manifests, that becomes manifest within the current lifetime. Then other kinds of actions can be done such that they give rise to results in the immediate subsequent lifetime. Other actions can be such that they give rise to results in some further life, after the next life.
Oh yeah, that is it. 단다 레데 안에 란투도 지까지 녀와 지겨워와 뒤져용 오이나 란투비까지 녀와 믿어봐 차고와와 일단 레코라 란투비까지 녀가 주고와데 레데 남이지 되우진비 녀와데 다 차고와래 인자 남이지 되우진비 녀와데 레가도 잠바 남이지 되우진 투무도 진바데 가려wan 거 차례 쓰르가나다 단다 가소래 주다소스 된 대바 민자와 토발된 게 취미사왔던 게 레지도 취미사왔던 게 전에 양한테 지면라 선사바대나 레지 파자 꾸시딩도 돼 파자 거야 돼 란지부터 오이나 레지 남이지도 집이 니와테 아니 남식이 도 파자고 샤야 또 시작을 봐.
So then the action that we've been discussing here, these actions which are mental formations, these only last for a moment. That is, they only last for a certain duration, a short duration of time. And after that moment, period of time has stopped, then the action itself ceases. Because action is constructed, is something that's produced. It's by its very nature has as its very nature the character of disintegrating and ceasing. So as soon as the action has been completed, in the next period of time, it's stopped. So therefore, one has to account for how that action is able to give rise to its effect, its result. And the different schools of philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, have different accounts of how this works. One position is that there's something called obtainment that is produced by the action, and that connects the action as a cause with the result which ripens as a result of that action and preserves it over time. Another system says that there's something called non-loss, technical term, non-loss, that the action isn't lost. And then the Yogacara school says that when one performs an action, it places a kind of propensity within the basal consciousness of the person, which carries the potential for the arising of the resultant action afterwards. And then the autonomous school of Madhyamika says that that kind of propensity is placed on the mental consciousness within the 6 types of consciousness, and that's where the ability or power to give rise to the result of the action is placed and carried.
인자 대다께바 강인비 내 대다기 왕기 존 주로 세가 대다께바 강인비 내 대다 세디 아니 다 감숨 좋아리도 강도 아니 깨바를 제박이 내 대다 내 대왕기 아니 좋아하는 조그래서나 아니 개외래라 때네 된로게 미개외래라 때는 안 좋게 아니 가서래 소나마이 미워외래라 때네 강코마르게 게 인자 저 주와 인자 뒤지 견견 넘버시 뒤지 세세 뒤지 견견 세가라 뒤지 견체데 레드 바자고 살때 넘버시 와데 남식이 뛴도 바자데 샤네 아니 좋아 나서 주바주르 세 어다티 뒤지 자와데 제잖아 대는 뒤지 사비 뒤지 사비세 소나마다 소나마이 빌레 뒤지 사비 강사 되기 아니 넘버시와 뒤지기 견견 코이 사변도 좋아 세가 뒤지기 견견 대부 고고하래 견견의 대부라 그러와 아니 코이 사변도 주위 뒤지다 투비 다 코이 사변도 투비 뒤지 당 투바서나 소나 개비 레이나 아니 데비텐도 줘야 소나 많이 밤에 개비레나 안 줘야 미요빌레이나 살아서 아니 가서래 감코마라서 살아서 주버 좋아.
So and then it says, therefore, thus, in accordance with whatever kind of actions one is generated, one goes into the different destinies. One goes into the different destinies of samsara. So if it's virtuous action, then one goes into a virtuous sort of a happy destiny, being born as a human and so forth. If it's a non-virtuous, non-meritorious kind of action, then one goes into the destiny of being born, or migration of being born as an animal, hungry ghost, and so forth. If it's the unwavering kind of action, then those sorts of karmas give rise to traveling to the highest sort of destiny in existence of the non-physical form and formless realms. And then the verse following this says, consciousness which has as its condition mental formations, it causes one to enter into the various migrations or destinies. And the commentary then elaborates on that verse by saying, therefore, thus from that, a person who has accumulated these mental formations, those actions, virtuous, non-virtuous, and so forth, and the consciousness of of such a person has as its condition these mental formations. This is referring then to the propensities which are placed on or infused within the consciousness of the person by the actions, and which function as the seeds of samsara. So then in accordance with those mental formations, a person goes to sort of destiny or migration, which is accords with that kind of mental formation. One enters into those or is reborn into those states, such as being a god and so forth.
유르도 레나양 단다 공도 상계든지 레가 가와네 유르도 레나양 레지 남미지 더우진비 누와지 더우진비 누와그서 같아지 시와나시 심미사와다 토바다서 되고 알아와 레남가나 유르도 레나양 레남지 더우단 데와라니 귀시 남바시와 그 주인당 심미사와다 토발라서와 다 대다 탄주를 자야고라 요말 전이 요말이 와 맨나양 안에 레디남이 이도 진과데 간들 때나 자꾸 말해서 다 탄주르라 레지 식바 뭐저 거래 식바是吧 레식바 조지 디산 예 레식바 뭐야 두고 와리 안에 남이 이제 저우집이 니와 근데 식바데 남식들이 샤과치 그러와 남식 때는 샤도와
So then, in our system, in the system we're following here of the consequentialist Madhyamika, that we say that karma, we create karma, we do actions, and the effects, which are the maturation of those actions, occurs far distant in the future often from the action itself. Even though the action has stopped, ceased, the effect, which is the maturation of that action, can occur in the distant future. And we don't accept the other systems of philosophy's positions that there's some kind of things such as obtainment or non-spoilage of, or that that the seed is sort of like placed in the basal consciousness in the way that some of the other schools of philosophy present it. Rather, in this system, it's said that something which is the disintegration of the action exists within the consciousness, and that the disintegration of that action is placed within the consciousness and serves as a basis for the arising of the result in some distant future.
레지 파자 고비 시승가 데 간데지레에서네 가나파 딱든 짜네 아니 파자 고치 시시 뭐 시시 쇼 먹어 봐. 코 랑은에 주와 짜와네 매바이나 딱든 짜유 짜네 녀바지 짜와네 매바 인상 랑은에 주바 매바리 인상은 레 제가 그 차와 쳐봐대양 아니 랑신지 주비 제가 그 차와 미쳐봐 랑신지 주비 제가 그 차와 미쳐봐 인상 다 레지 파자고비 시대 다된 자네 미 샤먹어봐 미게 다바점지 남셈 레랑신지 시바코람 아니 뭐버 인장 시바되게 아니 되우지바 강지랑신지데 미가바 대지 끝이 매장 뒤니치르세 다 레지 파자고비 남시시레지 파 다된 자네 좀 먹어봐 레랑신지 미가바 인장 아니 레지 파자고비 그럼 미게 다바점도 아니 레지 파자 샤초바당 레시바게 남이 되우진 투구레.
So then in this system of the consequentialist Madhyamika school, We say that it's not the case that one finds a sort of basis of the connection between action, karma, and its results by seeking it out within the sort of basis of designation of that connection between cause and effect. But rather that, because there is nothing at all that one finds when one seeks the basis of a designation for the designation. But we say nevertheless that we can say conventionally within sort of a functional relationship that an action gives rise to its result by means of, you can say conventionally that there's some sort of causal activity within the consciousness, and one can designate that as the disintegration of the action. Here in this system, we say that disintegration of the action is a functional thing, is a positive functional thing, and conventionally can attribute the relationship between karma and its distant effects to that sort of a disintegrated but functioning thing. But again, this is not the result of like seeking some kind of essential something that's established by its own essence as the a relationship between the cause and the effect.
Oh yeah, what test do say that then the jig sabe kasa in hala so war juba jwa chudo se kan ta tini bhaja goma tapi namshi dela yuduji namshi se gare.
So the consciousness, as soon as it's infused with the propensity of that action, of that mental formation, then that's called the consciousness in its state as a cause, in the state of being a cause.
Diebe dichung, dikebe dike chene to sungare. Diebe dichung segala, diebe dike is caresona, or Panji led you go on to Maribati yebe, you want to check less of a chung. Maribicuna Casa to check led you couldn't launch a Maribati kebe, you want to check let chungares, diebe dichung.
So thus, what this is expressed, likewise, or alluded to also in the there's an Abhidharma Sutra on metaphysics, in which it's said that a statement that this existing, this arises. When this exists, that arises. When this is produced, when this arises, then that arises. Meaning here that you can connect this to what we're talking about here, where when ignorance exists, then these mental formations will arise. They will come into existence. There's that kind of connection.
Oh yeah. Dai du ji ge le chung de gan de jie la, ane nam xie ge de pa jia de xia de zwa, pa jia ge ma ta be nam xie de nam xie ge dan de che. Nam xie ge dan de la, de du dang yu de ni yo ba xie chu na, ko ka re sa na, de du ji nam xie si ma jia yi so na. 남식의 땐데들라 찬이 체이가라 파자고 마타베 남식의 규득의 남식 땐데 다중 공도 시원하시 파자 대 서였다니 아니 계시도 년점 주위 내가지 남식 타보데 대두의 남식체
So the same thing applies to the relation between the second and third link or factor of dependent origination. As soon as these karmic mental formations that are karma occur, then the consciousness arises. It has that kind of relationship. So again, when we're speaking of consciousness here, we can differentiate between two phases of consciousness. The consciousness in the causal state, which is the consciousness that has immediately been infused with the imprints, propensity of the karmic formations, karmic mental formation. Or you can talk about it also, consciousness as the resultant state of consciousness, which is consciousness when that propensity is just about to is in the process of germinating and is just about to give rise to the subsequent rebirth.
Oh yeah, that he all misu tende sikala shebe rimbe wandu chana ta namshi tende go odu misu tende su shegu are ta trubi rimbe wandu chen ngara du jewa rimbe wandu chana di para de la tuchi jusum bot chuko are.
So here next in this sequence of explanation, the sequence of presenting the 12 factors of dependent origination in explaining them, what follows consciousness here is name and form, and this is the sequence according to the way they're explained. But if one's talking about the way these different factors operate in giving rise to rebirth and such, then you would insert here Dibarupla Krasa Namshidang Mingsuk Dibarupla. You'd have to insert the actualizing causes in between consciousness and name and form to describe them according to the way they operate in giving rise to rebirth. So here it says in the commentary that also as soon as the mind, the existence of death has stopped, then in a single moment, just like the arms of a just like the arms of a scale shift from being high to low, then in the same way, the aggregates of rebirth or the subsequent existence are impelled by karma, and rebirth occurs. What this is presenting the connection between consciousness and name and form according to the way of explaining the 12 factors of dependent origination just in this straight sequence. But if you were going to discuss this according to the way rebirth actually occurs, you would place between consciousness and name and form the factors of that are the accomplishing factors of dependent origination, which are desire and grasping and such.
미리께와 편집이 내지 쌓여나 내지 바자 남식이 된도 괴와대 다른 공도 시원하시 전에 쇠대지기 안에 실내 남지 가서를 쇠땀니 안에 미리께와 주로 추고이다 담보 세바 되나 렘바 되나 스바
So if we're explaining this according to the way a birth takes place, we would say that someone who is in a state of ignorance has created some mental formation or some karmic formations, and those have then been infused into their consciousness, and that consciousness in the causal state there has at some point in the future the consciousness is activated by or sort of the propensity is activated such that it's able to give rise to its result, and it's activated by by desire and attachment and existence, such that then name and form, the rebirth, which is name and form, arise.
soja dedu topde da donde juba deban donde toba deban jigda siba yeba de senikala sese dang jikse seni iyore rawa dewa toban debala seba tela ani dese dunga dan drawar deba ki seba tela ani jikse cheni rawa o da sedi pumbola Mingawa sepi tsawa, janjo ki seba jie, maung bi pungbo la, ayang kansore dumba jie ki seba. Tini la jikse tan se.
Jikse tan
si se.
So to not actually follow the order of the text here, but to sort of introduce some further discussion of desire here, the desire which is the 12 factors of dependent origination, within the 12 factors of dependent origination. Then there's a verse in the exposition of compendium of valid cognition, which describes two types of desire. There's desire for existence and desire for destruction, or a desire for disintegration or destruction. The first of these is desire for sort of attachment and a desire to, say, one's own aggregates, and desire to existence and pleasure and things of that nature that one wants. And then the desire for destruction is the wish to be freed from any kind of undesirable sort of suffering or situation that we don't wish to be engaged in. So you have to distinguish those two kinds of desire for existence and desire for disintegration.
Oh yeah, this sepate che de want to Tijela lemba said Tia lemba tia sepache lemba tela anis kala sesak yude and debag uses sudala soala seba yan ane chiro rabtu shawala soala ane tawala seba ane jigzola ta jigdala se jigzola ta seba deba nyewa lemba tawa lemba tatu tawa lemba se wa kesa yu minrawa ta lembi lenka tene shambare 디날 통용지 말이 영에 더럽지라고
So likewise then on las lempa sipa lempa
여자니와 여자니 이모숨근안에 세바다 렘바니고도 여자가 세바레스 여자레스 다만 세바데 가바레스라 직세당 되세니체 아니 렘바데라 따와녀반 렘바 더바녀반 렘바 다도마 따와 렘바세 주름도 신레바리 시와레.
So there, the first, when you talk about desire and grasping out of the 12 factors of dependent origination, then desire here is defined as those two types. Desire for existence and desire for, you could say, destruction. One being a desire for things which are desirable that one wants, and the second desire for destruction is the wish to be free from the things that you don't like, that you don't want. And then as far as grasping is concerned, this is described as having four types, grasping at grasping at things that are desirable, grasping at views, and grasping at and grasping at a self, and grasping at religious observances and morality as being the best. Those four kinds of grasping.
Oh yeah, ten데 세바 테니기 안에 공도 가서래 내 남식이 띵도 잡이 샤비 파자 동간되기나 파자 되기라 안에 남이 되고 준비 쇠답지 남이 되고 준비 네가 투전도 주대. 어때니 레데 가발라 온도 쳐와. 근데 네가 투 레데 가발 가서 온도 쳐 네가 투전도 주비. 레데 가서와 네가 투전도 주비. 어디 안에 대우 개발랑 온도 쳐와. 어딘데 네가 투전도 주비. 내가 달라 아니 내가 되게 심주선 받지라. 주와 스바 세티 레데레. 심주 삼바지라. 예, 주와 스바.
주와 스바.
주와 스바. 내가 주니라니 주와 이바.
오케이.
기시 주바랑 온도 쳐와.
기시 주바.
아니 레디 남이 도주 니와 투자도 주비 내가 지기 심주 삼바지라. 아니 스피단데 시작고 하래.
스피단. So when the propensity, which is impressed or infused into one's consciousness by action, by the karmic formations of, and motivated by ignorance, as previously described, when that propensity is reaches a state where it's about to be triggered or caused to give rise to its effect, then desire and grasping serve to cause it to ripen or to become actualized, and that in turn gives rise to the 10th factor of dependent origination, which is called existence here, and Simjung
Simba.
Simjung Simba.
Lela Simju Samba Lega. Samba Le.
Simjung Simba.
Idandila Lela da Minduji Shonga Shirang Mewa de Simju Samba.
Sipa Kurang.
Sipa Kurmas. Simju Samba de Le. Tinagapti.
So then the La Gonda Kozuma Songdi. Simba Simjungdi.
Simju Samba. 어디 심중이 받체 심중 나니 가르래서나 셈바 셈바선 초 심중은 아요 초와 두시 셈바 빨리 예비라 잡아서 좋아 어디스
레디 가르치 심중 somebody 가리.
내 고랑 어디 가르래서나 심중체 심중고 나는 심중 가르래서나 셈바
래. 인디 시파.
what this 텐디 디네갑지 아니 심중 셈바데 주와 시바
좋아 시바.
시비텐데세
네. So then at this time, then the 10th factor of dependent origination, which is called existence, is when with the with the maturation or the germination, you could say, of the propensity that's in consciousness, when that is activated and by craving and grasping, desire and grasping, then it gives rise to this 10th state of 10th factor of dependent origination called existence. And here, that is a type of karma and is one of the mental factors called intention. So existence has that character.
This
will all come out again as we go through the lower, the rest of this chapter.
텐다와데 운도 주사데 가르래서나 다께와 치망 알아줘 미리 된데지 깨와니 몇개가 있나 단이와 가서래 쳇딜라 아니면 담보 말이 봐 이와 되지길래 안에 남식이 된데 수바데 쳇딜라 주봐야 요아래 아나 깨왕가마라 양 가밍가미 내가서 내데 숨 반지기 주스 뭐지 제 주사니 아니 쳇디 치기 내가라 아니 주식 주스 못 주고 하래. 와 대치스 가와다 정한데 주식 주스 못 들어와.
So what's happening here is that, so let's say in some previous lifetime or in this lifetime, we could say as well, if we're a person that's under the control, that is subject to ignorance, is obscured by ignorance, then in being in that state of ignorance, we engage in some kind of actions, the mental formations that are different kinds of karma. That action then places a propensity within our consciousness, which exists within the consciousness, and then at the end of this life, when we are reached basically the point of death, then by means of or the accomplishing factors of desire, of grasping, and then existence is the triggering and the maturation of that karmic propensity within the consciousness, such that existence is the state in which one is just about to take rebirth.
일단 주직의 주당 첨단이게 팔라 개와신이 팔쳐봐요 말해. 그러와 강의자 체대를 주직의 주선보도 주나 개와 수만라 레티기 아니 첨단대 이지까지 주고래. 편직의 주당 판단이 그 받을 개와만 복쳐봐요 말해. 어디 하고 그래라.
So thus you have to we need to understand that the actualizing causes and the actualized result can't have any separation between them. That is, the actualizing the factors of dependent origination that are the actualizing causes are immediately followed by the actualized result, but the impelling, what did I call that? Projecting. The projecting causes and the projected effects can have a great deal of time elapse between them. That is, you can create the projecting causes in a lifetime which is quite a bit prior to the fruition of the projected effects.
그래서 야나 주님 못해 책 가져를 또 그래서나 체 숨나 조고 아래 체 숨나와 체 숨나 뭔지 간지 조그래 체 숨보 대나나 체 숨나 간지 조그래서나 편지 그 주숨보대 체직라 좀 주지 그 주숨보대 체직라 좀 춤대다 판대 저보대 치쳐말라 두잖아 체 숨나 좋아래
So we can then divide up all of the factors of dependent origination into those categories of the projecting causes, the projected effects, the accomplishing causes, and the accomplished effects. And if we subdivide it into those four categories, they have to be, those four have to be subsumed by 3 lifetimes, 3 different lifetimes. That is, for example, you could say that the projecting causes could be created in one life, and then the accomplishing causes would be created, produced in a second lifetime, and the projected effects and the accomplishing effects and the accomplished. I'm all twisted up now. 체 숨라 쪽으로 봐.
체 숨라 이렇게 줘 그래라. 다 체 숨보 되게 조조가나 편지기 유당 판비 되고 되게 봐라. 참마복 줘요 말해.
So the projecting causes and the projected effects can be separated by many lifetimes. No.
주지 유당 중대니가 봐라 체생이 받쳐면다.
But the accomplishing causes and the accomplished effects cannot have any life intervening between them. That is, they have to be immediately next to each other.
그냥 또이 가서 리젠남지 랜남네 까와장 취미사 초신 뒤라 봐봐네 저부터 밑다도 멤버 주 사이가 새로운 아마 까와는 까이 봐도 레사와디 레디 요아체 좋아 레디 레디라 다 되게 레 되게 저왕아망아만에 사와가 레 되게 머리 바당 니와 누제당 유디그 남시서 아망아만에 천천히 다 들리게와 마음에 파도치니 아니 다 체디 치기 내가라 아니 아마기 저왕 아망아마사에 레 되게 실렌스 우서가 서답 좋아 서답나 서답디 담바 다 저와 치마들라 가르쳐 그래서나 다 레디기 판대도 죽송아 판대 주디가라 저왕아망아마를 팔지기 주숨 세디라 아니 줍지기 주숨 저와 치마들라 판대도 줍대도 죽송아 야 고소
So then the way this works is that, so in some lifetime, many lifetimes ago, let's say, we created an action. We were under the control of ignorance. We performed an action that placed a propensity within our consciousness. That propensity resided within the consciousness, inactive for numerous lifetimes. Then finally in this lifetime, at sort of right before we die, that propensity is activated by the activating causes of desire and grasping and existence, and that then serves as a base or the causal complex, which gives rise to the resultant effects, the effects, the projected effects, as well as the accomplished effects. In the third lifetime, the final lifetime.
남식이 땐데텔라 단행은 니시와 이바 뒤두그 남시다 대두그 남시시 대두그 남시라 마 자주잖아 전에 간들 땐데 연락 주니 책 간들 쳤습니다 간들 주고 해서나 온다 치다 니니다 파도 장원 좌대로 잘해 온다 치다 니니다 파도 장원 좌대로 저왕 아마텔라 온다 치대 파도 장원 좌단로 쳤습니다 주의 시간라 是吧？反对这样做这样的事干了，都是 자야 줘리 다는 또 있어야 대이가 다 된다잖아 저왕아민 아마라 이와 두제길래 편지가 주스 못해서 다트디 치가 나가서 두제가 주스 못해 봐 온도 줄 그러와 두제기 주스 못해 온도 주니 다 치스 가바당 아니 체디 치스 치기 나가라 사대사 이제 같이 치기 나가라래 그러와 부면에 치기 나가서 아니 세바 랑게 풍보라 민다베 세바가 다다 풍보라 민다베 세바다 뭐 잔데 세바다 뭐 풍보라 아니 민다베 세바께 아니 따와래바 따와냐와래바래바께 간라티니 텔라세 따와래 때네 아니 치스 주발랑 온도 쳐와 레기 네바 투젠도 주의 내갑대 되니 텐라위 개와 치마 치스 가바당 안에 상대 토면 신도 대도가 치스 가바나 깨지 코나라 상비 토네 상대 토면지 수도 기스지 풍보나 기타 방법이 죠.
So then this, as it's explained, as we've explained, then through a course of a lifetime, when one reaches death, at the very point of death, the end of the continuity of this stream of the aggregates, then at that point in time, by a desire and grasping, one activates the propensity within the consciousness, which forms the factor of existence, and which is and those being activated, then immediately after that, one is reborn into the subsequent existence, and there's no separation between those two, such that they occur. One arises and the other disappears simultaneously, just like the movement of the arms of a scale. When one arm of the scale goes down, the other arm of the scale goes up. And this is in accordance. One takes the type of existence of the aggregates in accordance with the type of karma that is impelling that.
대인다 난디 내가라 디상고야래 파도데 계속 나도 뒤와체 로아 계속 나는 뒤와한테 차와는 마도 로아체 지당 치슬 가바다 파도 추바 튀냠 라 아니 파도 제 파도 내가라 아니 파도와 코랑 제자 가져 내기나 아니 파도 가바당 아니 계속 추바 튀냠 두 지당 두 쪼고래 한보 치시 주와당 아니 주와테단 되게 파식축 파식 봐 아니 파식 가바당 당아지래이나 아니 마이가도 인자 좋아트냠.
So the way this operates in terms of the sequence here is that death, when the death existence or that moment of death occurs, when that final phase of life, death, stops, then simultaneous with the stoppage of that, the next life arises and one is reborn. If we describe this in terms of the intermediate state beings, then we count intermediate state beings as being included within the rebirth existence. They're placed within that, so that it works like that, death stops at the same moment that one is reborn into the bardo or intermediate state. And then that intermediate state life existence, I should say, during the duration of that, when that ceases, at the moment of that ceasing, then the next life as such, whether it's human or whatever, arises, one is reborn.
일단 파도 주차니 아니 파도 와디 아니 가서래 치비 된데 주대 아니 기술의 연장죠 다 좋아 소속이 파도 주나 미 파도 주네 미 기술의 연장 조회 차와 여다 메스나 미 파도 주네 미 기술의 연장 조회 안송 그 파도 주네 안송 그 기술의 연장 조와 네와레베스나 다딜라 저글로잖아 미 안송 기술 파스 주나 안송 그 아니 가서래 안송도 맞게 받아 아니 데르스 토바지 와 말이 와 뭔가 근데 좀 어이 내줘라잖아 안송이 파스 주네 안송도 맞게 봐 한테도 제와 시작 거래
데노
제와지
요아래
뭔가 근데 길로
노스
어이 내줘라잖아 저기 내가라이나 메스 미도테니 치사오 나송기 파시 춥사나 아니 나조르 제와 만제와라 된지 제와 시안이 내가 지와 말이 미도테니 치사오 와 뭐바 근데라 내가나 지대는 도고 세가나 랑당 난지 파시 춥나 양 개와 톱지 랑당 안에 생각만 때 안에 가서래 년제당 된저기 개와 톱진 차와라 때나 아니 양 개와 티기 톱진 안주 파스 춥잖아 양 아니 안로네 치페데 된지 파스 춥데 되니 안때로 개와 치샤고 말이
So generally, when we say if someone's been born into the intermediate state, they've obtained that kind of existence of the intermediate state of existence between one life and the subsequent rebirth. There are different ways of discussing or to explain whether or not one is definitely going to be reborn into that type of life. For example, if you're born into the intermediate state life of a hell being, according to the Abhidharma Kosha system, the treasury of metaphysics that's taught by the master Vasubandhu, according to that system, then one is fixed in that kind of rebirth, a rebirth which is of the same type as the intermediate state that one is born into. However, according to the higher system of metaphysics, of the compendium of metaphysics, and which is the accords with reality, it's not the case that one is fixed in that kind of rebirth once one's been born into the intermediate state. Rather, it's possible that even if one's born into an intermediate state existence, such of a hell being, which is tending towards being reborn in hell, it's possible that by some special kind of virtue or merit that the person can sort of die in that intermediate state and be reborn into a higher pleasurable state of existence.
Oh yeah. 다디차바디체 대내다 파도와디 아니 파도의 체제 샤드인 말이 체제 샤드 샤드 소니 제네니나 아니 샤드니 계시드니 잠자주체 샤드니 계시 얘네 많이나 아니야 파도를 양 치중의 체니 양 파도 개와랑데 다 둔전 샤둔다 둔그 파도 안데려 와래 이러와 개와투시 샤둔전 뒤서나 아니 계승에 와르니에 잡고 와래.
So once one has died and entered into the intermediate state, it's if you're in an intermediate state being can exist within that that form for up to 7 days. But at the conclusion of 7 days, it's definite that they have to effectively die from that form in the intermediate state and take on another form for another 7 days, or it could be less than 7 days if they're able to find a suitable place to be reborn in accordance with their trajectory. But so the intermediate state being can live for 7 days and then has to die and be reborn in the intermediate state for another 7 days. That can occur 7 times, totaling 49 days. But at the end of that 49-day period, it's definite that they have to take rebirth.
뭐야? 다티니 파도와데 치데 다 치니 데 나바시와 슈주나 민다수니 차바 줄 세간다. 다 파도와데 아니 치데 데니 미시 대다 마이다가 마이가도 말아서 아제 인다지나 아니 마이가도 나바시와 슈네 다 파도와기 남시기 른다 추마데 아니 마이가도 남바시와 슈네 자와라 주와나 남바시와 주 자와 주와나 디진지 민시 풍보다 수지 풍보 잡아 주로 세디기 대디그 남시 주와당 아니 민속의 때의 주와 퇴념바치 동가 직체 대디그 남시당 민속의 때의 니오데 당부 대디그 남시 주면 디진지 민속의 때의 주와데 따다다 디송아들이 대정아도 남바시와 슈네 아니 자와 주와 세가나 남식의 때의 주 디진지 세가나 남바시의 진지 men다수 세야되게 아니 디진지 아니 민시 풍보다수 sana 민시 풍보서나 소와 두시 남바시 풍보시보다나 민시 풍보스고 말해 디가나 수지 풍보들라 수지 풍보서나 민수기 때문에 스르바 인자 남바시와는 민데수 세나 대두그 남시라잖아 아니 대두그 남시 네 땡디 하나 주니 나한테 남시 땡디 대두 남시라 때나 남시 마영아도 년전 자마 타바데 대주 남시체 티까지 니와는 민숙 땡디 주배체 그러와 대두진 남시라 샤두 잠바 남바시위 진지 민다수 시간라 아니 대두그 남바시 제와다 민수 차바 튜념산 티과래 그래서 하고도 따다디 이 자단민 민디 측들라 때는 남바시위建议 민다수 세야들라 남바시위 建议 민다수 세야들라 유두그 남시라제 대두진 남시라제 니샤고와 용거래 그러와 유두그 남시라제나 유두그 남시라 때는 아니 민다수 차와 제우다다는 거와 죄송하디 대두그 남시라 때나 내가 디소하나지 마잉아도 남바시와 주네 세가 대두그 남시스 디gen지 민당 수시리가나 그지 니와는 미숙된데
So then the root text here, the verse end of the second verse says that when the consciousness enters, when it enters, then name and form occur, take place, arise or occur, I should say. And the commentary here says, therefore, thus, when the consciousness is entered into the mother's womb, this is referring to beings that are born in a womb, that type of rebirth, then it becomes, how would you say it? Becomes unconscious. It faints, in a sense. And with that kind of having that as a condition, the aggregates of the four aggregates which are called name, and the aggregate, the physical aggregate occurs. So this is referring, this way of explaining it is from the point of view of the resultant consciousness. Resultant consciousness being that form of consciousness in which the propensity for rebirth is being germinated or activated, and then immediately subsequent to the resultant consciousness occurring, then rebirth takes place. So in that kind of sequence. So here you can apply that to the way in which if we're talking about an intermediate state being taking rebirth in a womb, the consciousness in the resultant state enters into that womb, and by becoming and then faints or becomes unconscious, and then out of that, or immediately subsequent to that, the different aggregates, the four called name, which are sensation, ideation, construction, and consciousness. Those four sort of mental aggregates arise, and the physical aggregate, which makes up the body, also arises. One can also explain this in terms of the causal consciousness, that the causal consciousness, when that has been produced, that the state of consciousness which is infused by the propensity of karma, then eventually, over time, that serves as the condition for the arising of the five aggregates called name and form.
두시 풍부 두지 부 초유 풍부 두시 풍부 두지 풍부 남바시 풍부 와 대세가나 민세체 가서 풍부 남바시 대라 민세와니 레뉴지 그 레다니문지 그왜 기비네 대단테 레뉴그 왕기 아니 가서에 걔네 강당강 이게나 대주얼체비 기회삼 대남라 두시지 왕기 교배네스 두시기 왕기 대단테 두시위 왕기 아니 지나테 교배인바나고다 민스제디 민기스제디인바리 좋아 수데다 내가 지나가라 매매보 따르다고 고고고 따르다고 창주 야라주와서 내가 시와 이다 티 내가 되라 아니 다 나지나가 이 대이자 민수 세디인바리.
So here it says, name and form are name and form are the term given to describe the five aggregates that make up the person. Here, name refers to the four aggregates apart from form, and so the four which are sensation, ideation, constructing activities, and consciousnesses. Those four are designated as name, and they're called name because they, by the force of karma and the mental afflictions, one is the consciousness which is sort of which is infused by those, causes one to, or leads one into the various states that one is reborn. So it's called name for that reason. Or you could also say that it's given the name because that one runs after, or it runs after the objects by the force of ideation, and it's given that name. And then here, in this context, form refers to the, or you could say body, actually. Body refers to the form of the fetus, which is in Tibetan called mermerpo, is the first stage of fetal development. And then there are three other stages of fetal development. So the body in those different conditions.
그러니까 미소게 댄제디 세치스 봐도 아니 여봐도 여봐 가서 여봐 정가기 양 공부시에 지셔서지 미소게 댄제제 세치스 봐도 매봐 미소 댄제 가와도 거래서나 간접받이 와래서나 미소 댄제 토마 주반에 接接触马对个怕对了，我谁把它传？但是这个那个了，他说的。马里尼蒙我那个对些他呢，我是那些参就碰不赢，民党属你太偏见，民党属你太偏见，阶级处的存在度谁讲了？民属是单的的，民属我对人咱们讲话大多民些个单独出版呢，但阶级处马祖被怕对了，民属个单的下算了，我对小人说你，那么是所以我点个民属个单的，安尼。我对人家在那民宿出完呢，这些就马都给拍在了民宿单的就想个就完了，啊，
那，
民宿单的是那他民宿单的人吧，明的碰不那么喜欢的钱，所有的熟悉钱，是吧？他对我对人家们教育讲嘛，他都等到出国哇，他出呢，安尼这些出马都给拍了，是吧？这些出。阶级出赛的看的人是那没当那瓦当那当街当，你马主给拍台了，民宿单的小孩几钱？
所以是有，
我土山，但要民宿单的民宿出完呢，70-80多呢
，70-80，
70-80呢是呢，可以70-80多个是吧？是吧？我对人咱们家要给民宿给单的民党所的个捐的70-80多多万人长，民宿给单的70-80多多个万的，这人长，那不是因为从的阶级民党所阶级出马的把的要多的，全我们多于我一点给往的钱，全我们做当单的多于个是我是现在的。你阶级等到民宿单的出版呢，阶级出马都有派对的，单的多用我点给往的钱。然后民宿单这过来70-80多个人钱呢，都是呢来这个的，是吧？大概那几个是吧？然后民宿单的我点大上往的钱讲了，民宿出版呢，阶级出马都有个派对了，像70-80没说吧？我听到民宿出版呢，阶级出马都有把个民宿单的70-80要嘛的吧？要嘛的吧？
民宿
好个噻。
民宿
这个那个时候，这当钱我不多个那些，这个那个时候，看噻，没得你们我那个对接他呢，我那些那些他们叫碰不赢，民党属你太偏见。阶级主的存在多，民党所看这话的是，俺对人咱们讲呢，人咱们讲嘛，他把呢，民党那话了说没主怕的话的，是吧？我听到民宿下的呢，大抵70-80就没多啊，70-80没多啊，会军的有个话的，我民宿在了下着，下个嘛的。这当你话的，搞有话嘛的，我一定个往的下几当军个往的下那当经济话的。
So when we talk about name and form, or you can talk about name as being having to do with the sort of mental parts of the mental portions of the aggregates, and form is the body, the physical part of the five aggregates of the person. Then we say, so that as a factor of dependent origination is followed by the six sort of sense fields, or six cognitive fields, eye, ear, nose, and so forth, and mind, up to mind. Those six sensory, six cognitive spheres. One can, if you follow the sort of explicit teaching of the Treasury of Metaphysics, then you would say that name and form exist only until those six cognitive spheres develop. And then when the six cognitive spheres have developed, you no longer, there's sort of a cessation of, or stoppage of name and form. And when it doesn't apply that name and form, that category to the rest of one's life. but that's sort of one way of expressing this, whereas in reality we can say that, it's okay to say that name and form, the five aggregates in effect, persist down throughout the duration of a lifetime, for the entire duration of that lifetime until one dies.
Oh yeah. 民俗等的才都切，是吧？但民俗等这个出得了，接得了，接起出个等这三点，那得了的，所以你搞的慢慢把了说话，哦，是这些什么？听说啊？哦，但民当所你察觉呢，接出你中啊就是三点个，但民当所你察觉呢是，俺的民俗个接起等的去穷呢，提前了，俺的接出个等的中国人是这。 他民系慢慢把老所有所有的差不多去哪，什么的所有的钱呢？民系党是，所有部都些部，那么些碰不了所谓民党、民系党，我跟那个就慢慢把老所有所有的差不多去哪是，他的呢，东岸就用过去哪，俺的错话的都当年说讲话了，错话的都讲话了说，东岸就用过去哪，俺的话了这些是。
So the verse then says, when name and form have arisen, have occurred, then the six cognitive media or six cognitive spheres occur. They occur, and the commentary here says, thus, when the four aggregates which are called name, as well as the body, which or the form, which is the fetus in the different states of Mermerpo, etc. When that has occurred, then as sort of as a door for the arising, for giving rise to suffering. The six cognitive spheres develop, and these are enumerated in the next line.
就是说，哦，这样子你看的是呢，阶级出是呢，没有阶级，那个阶级、那阶级、女级阶级、一级阶级出去，是吧？但这位阶级出的，俺那民俗给建了就嘛，民的所记吧。 他这些出个哪呢？旅党一级这些牛的，民俗出嘛他都有啊的。
民俗
哦，旅党一级这些牛的，没当那哇那样这的，俺那我来嘛的就得了。
啊嘞
啊，他说的，这谈不。 接受的人怎么教我当旅党也有个念过的，接受的人怎么教我当，按你理解一当旅牛的接受的人怎么教我的念我去，
So then the text here lists the six cognitive spheres or six cognitive fields, you could call them. Eye, nose, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Those are the six. And these arise from the condition or due to the condition of name and form. So name and form is initial state of the in this case a fetus then serves as a condition for the arising of the different cognitive spheres or fields. And the way in which these are produced, if we're talking about being born in a womb, with the initial form of fetal development, you have mind and body in present, so that mind, those cognitive fields of mind or spheres of mind and body are the first to develop, and then the other ones develop subsequently.
Oh yeah, they end up. I mean, 我接了， 아주 깨마타도 가져 안보 가져 얘기 남의 용어를 가져 얘기해서 류지 안보도 이제 안보 얘기 말입니다. 대바 당보 남이 세 디스거래. 대바 지수도 인삼 자와는 아지라 아니 류지 안보다 이제 안보 얘기하래. what 디스거래. 디테일 not 디셔.
So it's said then that, you know, if we're talking about beings that are born within the desire realm and that are born within wombs, that it says there's two initial maturations of those beings, and that's referring to the same thing here, that the mental, the cognitive organ of the mind, as well as the body, cognitive organ of the body, is developed.
인자디 나게가 왕도 채와를 마도 주디 깨와이나 아니 지수 인자자 주디 깨와이나 아무 그 퇴지는 얘기 말이 주제라
So there are other kinds of birth, so-called apparition, miraculous birth, or sort of like a sudden spontaneous birth, form of birth, which is in that case, all six of these cognitive fields arise simultaneously.
Yeah,
so maybe we'll stop there, and we got 15 minutes left, and if there's some questions, actually. There's some. Actually, I have some questions that. I've got some questions that were already given. If you could hold that, yeah. So, I'll try to translate this into Tibetan if I can. 가상가 토니 그런 냥대레스. 이 냥대디 가서 예쁘기 깍바래. 그래서 냥대에서 어디 르브 깍바래. 말이 그래 마르바디 뉴몽기 깍바래.
아니
제상 이 토니 이냥 토니티 그래서 그래 something that never existed. Yeah, this is the question in English. Why is nirvana said to be emptiness when nirvana is the absence of something that existed, afflictions, etc., while emptiness is the absence of something that never existed, true existence? So that's the question. Okay. The Tony but Tony 냥데를 Tony Sigures.
Tony를 냥데 Sigures.
Tony를 냥데 Sigures. 네. In 냥데 so the 뉴몽기 각바레스. Any Tony 딘룹기 메바레스. 제천 가가요르베 즉 ngurbu gakpa nyumongi gakpares 즉 딘룹디 메바 전이 요마레 제천 가가로 와서. Does that kind of get it? I'm grasping here.
Yeah. 나 냥데스나 지단 냥데라 제 제를 비고네 라시 냥데 하제 냥데 하면 냥데 미네비 냥데 냥데 시샤고 와리.
So there's, I mean, if you're talking about nirvana, there are four types of nirvana, four types of it. So there's natural. So if we talk about ways in which we ascribe names to nirvana, there are four types. There's natural nirvana.
어디다 랑신양대 세대 동반일 샤고리.
So that is emptiness. This natural nirvana is called emptiness.
다 랑신양대에서 동반일 샤고 동반일 랑신양대 시고데 가르에서나 동반이지 랑신라 치멜레바 마슈바 인장 콜라 랑신양대 명자고리.
So because emptiness in its nature is never affected by any kinds of defilements, any kind of
동반이지 랑신라 치멜레바
so because in the actual nature of emptiness is never affected by any kinds of stains.
두세जना 지금 심지 랑신라 치멜레바 마슈바 인장 랑신이 치멜레바 마슈에 고랑신한테 쓰고 그래서
So it's like the nature of the mind is such that it's the stains or the defilements don't enter into its nature. So it's called it's naturally free from those stains by its very nature.
인자 랑신이 치마스나 된줄로 공부하래.
So the stains, natural, the stains of essence. Here, there's a word rangjin, which means both essence and nature. Stains of nature, nature which is true, real existence or true existence.
다 천유코랑 돈유코랑 랑신 양대 말에대. 냥대경오 되라 냥대경오 군조 대바던 게지당 냥대경오 전다 대바던 게 니래.
So that stain of real existence or true existence doesn't enter into the nature of the mind as such, and but when we say that emptiness is nirvana, there's two ways of talking about this. That it's not nirvana actually, but it's given this name of natural nirvana. And when we talk about this in two ways, talking about it from a sort of conventional perspective or ultimate perspective.
이랑 뭐 양대중오 천일라 된가 우리 내서를 단주와라. 양대중오 천일라 되디가나 샘지 천이 대 랑그 샘기 천이 대 루보지 주마 태단테 자주 담바 다디 고단 양대당 아니 춘이니 가래. 와 심지 춘이 가살로부지 드마대당 마자빌 내가라 춘이래디 양대 말에.
So if we talk,
아니 심지 춘이지 가자 니모비 드마당 자주 잠바 아니 고랑 양대 차거래. 니모 가자 니모비 드마.
So the nature of the mind is such that these defilements, the stains of of real existence, grasping at things to be real, don't exist in the mind. They're not part of the nature of the mind. But sort of adventitiously or temporarily, these stains can appear in the mind, and when those stains have been removed from the mind, when they have been separated from the mind, then you could say that the mind has entered into this natural nirvana. This yeah.
다 샘지 천이 가서래 녀몸이 주마단 차외 빼는 년도기 가사지 좋게 샘지 천이 녀몸이 주마단 차외 차자대 토마 토베디 가르가나 냠샤기 내가라 토고와래 나 다중이 다주 토마토디 냠샤기 내가 냠샤기 내가도 토디간 뒤 내가라 대난기 된루가 나와 자와니와 말이 내가 인자 뒤 내가 그 샘지신이 니몸이 주마단 차위 동반이 되라 라면양대 쓰고래 라면양대 대내디 제도도 야 양도 잠바 양 된루가 나와 차여 봐라 코단다 니몸 방어라디 니몸 와자 방어 말아
So this natural nirvana is the fact that the stains of the mental afflictions don't enter into the nature of the mind at all as part of its actual nature, but rather they're merely adventitious. And so that's this natural nirvana, you could say also. But when when you've entered into the path and when you achieve this state of the Arya's gnosis that realizes reality just as it is, realizes emptiness exactly as it is, then at that time, while you're in that meditative absorption, which has a non-dual cognition or gnosis, understanding emptiness or reality, then we talk, because the thing which is to be removed, those the mental afflictions, the stains of the mental afflictions, don't appear at all within the sphere of that kind of cognition. Then, so that's called a nirvana without remainder, without any residue, because the mental afflictions are not appearing within that cognition or that gnosis. But then when those aryas arise out of that meditative concentration, then the appearance of things as being real reappears. And things appear to them as real, even though they don't grasp at them as such. And so that is called a nirvana that has some remainder or residue left over.
Oh yeah, that thing you got nyande. That he jela, and the minevi nyande sigana, sanje pub, sanje guji. Ani casa siba koa, sishi, tani gani, siba koa tala mineva. 시와 냥데 아랑 가랑 시와 체배 냥데서는 내년 그게와 체점 그 냥데 tel라 미네바 오시시 탈라 미네미 냥데 인상 단다디 녀랑 그 주진 안데디 내년 그게와 체점 그 냥데래 저 가슴지 어디 내년 그게와 체점라 만나야 냥데 마임바 아스바 코알라 미네바 오 텐디기 아니 미네미 냥데 산자고 주진 냥데 추니데 나다가래.
So then those kinds of nirvanas are called they're nirvanas that are merely cut off rebirth into the cycle of existence, but they haven't eliminated the fault of sort of residing in peace or being fixated in the peace of nirvana. So it's not a complete type of nirvana. Then this applies to, like for example, arhats who are following the Shravaka or Pratyeka Buddha sort of path. They have that kind of nirvana. Nirvana without remainder, and then nirvana with remainder, depending on whether it's in the meditative absorption or not. But then the Buddha's nirvana is different because it's not fixated in either the peace of that limited kind of nirvana, nor is it fixated, is it localized in samsara. So this is called a nirvana that is not fixated or situated in either nirvana or samsara.
Yeah, that did us on Yandes. Landed at Roswan.
So this is discussing the different. So there's a difference between the difference between nirvana and emptiness. So nirvana, then we could say, is of the nature of emptiness. So then, but then you can also say that the nature of the mind, as one removes the different obscurations of the mental afflictions and so forth, is that nature of mind becomes nirvana, or has the ability to become nirvana. Yes. There's another question. Yeah, maybe didn't. Oh, there's a long question, but maybe I'll save that one for tomorrow and take easy question, or easier question. Oh, this is not so easy either. maybe a little simpler. The question is ceasing the idea of the self as a self-sufficient substance is said to subdue afflictions, but not to reach the root of samsara. How does this subduing of the afflictions affect the 12 links? The Rankyatubi Zeyu Suzimbe Rankyatubi Zeyu Suzimbe Zimba. Die Mebe Kasa. Die Gaksona Koretsawa Gagimare. Iniang Korean Chuni Gagimare. Yanla Dendral Yanla Chu Gagimare. Iniang Di Doksona the Pendo Kariores.
단 다와 고마게 단 직다 해봐 좋아.
Most Chikta Luba Cheva.
다도 집에 당신 해도 줘야 지당 다와 고마 또밖에 밥들 줘야. 아니
The Langdor Ginela, the Doksona, Langdor la Pendo Yore.
펜도 요아래. 야.
So the question then is that if it's said that holding the self as being a self-sufficient substance is not adequate to eliminate the ignorance which is the root of samsara, and so you can't achieve cessation of samsara by means of that realization. But nevertheless, having that level of understanding of selflessness is nevertheless